Hello, you've caught me on the brink of a new console generation. You've caught yourselves there as well. We're all here, PS5 launch day on the horizon, ready to plunge into an exciting future full of ray tracing and haptic feedback and lightning-fast load times. But before we do, if you'd all like to look behind you, you will see, and you'll have to imagine you can see this, fond memories of previous generations stretching back into the mists of time, and shining out from those mists, beacons of memory pulsing with the warm glow of nostalgia, those launch games that defined the early years of each console generation. Is there anything more exciting than that first wave of new games, all resplendent in their new graphical finery, showing us things we didn't think possible and vindicating our early leap into the next big thing? Launch titles can define entire console generations when they hit the spot. And in this Friday feature, we thought we'd take a look at 7 such launch titles from across PlayStation's more than 25-year history that were totally worth buying a new console for. Small disclaimer, as we're a UK channel, we'll be using the European PAL release dates for this video, okay? Don't at me. We'll start things off with PS1, which hit the UK on the 29th of September 1995, along with a game that would become the launchpad for an iconic series, Wipeout. Just look at this, the Psygnosis sting, the intro movie, and tell me your heart is not thumping with nostalgia. I wasn't lucky enough to own a PS1 at launch, but my friend did, and I remember seeing this boot up when I invited myself over to his house and just thinking, oh, you jammy beggar, and then playing the thing, this gleaming techno future racer with anti-grav ships streaking across tracks that defied both the laws of physics and the laws of what I thought was possible in a video game. I was terrible at it, absolutely terrible at it, Rosie's capture here, not even close to doing justice to my complete lack of skill. But I was so mesmerised by the speed and slick presentation of Wipeout that raging at the thing never once crossed my mind. Of course, back in 1995, no one knew what a legacy Wipeout would leave behind and how it would become one of the best-loved series in PlayStation history. What we did know was that it was absolutely amazing, the sort of game you just played and laughed to yourself in disbelief, like, I can't believe this is what games can look and play like now. And also, I can't believe it's all mine, is what I would have thought had I been as lucky as my friend Darren and actually owned a PlayStation straight away. Oh, I spent so much time round his house, his mum must have absolutely hated me. Next up, the second PS1 launch title on this list, Rayman, the armless, legless platforming hero who exploded into our lives in 1995 and, with the excellent Rayman Legends, is still doing the business on PS4. It's kind of an unspoken rule, isn't it, that a console needs a platforming game when it launches, and while our minds immediately serve us up memories of Crash Bandicoot on PS1, it would be an entire year before the whooping orange Spin Meister graced our PlayStations in November of 1996. No, for those of you who had a PlayStation at launch, Rayman was where it was at. Hardcore side-scrolling action. This game was tough, and it was one of those where my standout memory of it just involved playing the first level over and over and over. You know, I was too young and inexperienced a gamer to really have any idea what I was doing, but there was something irresistible about Rayman's combination of colour, sound, sleek animation and instantly gratifying gameplay that just grabbed me. What an absolute classic. Moving on to PS2 next, which arrived in the UK on November the 24th, 2000, promising an outrageously exciting new world of 128-bit emotion engines and third places. It felt like something beyond video games. You got this otherworldly sense of a machine that could produce a kind of cosmic magic, which combined with it releasing in the year 2000 really made everyone feel as though the future was a thing we were now living in. And then there was SSX, an outrageously good-looking extreme snowboarding game full of tricks and flips and a thumping soundtrack. Basically, it was the most year 2000 game ever. SSX did for snowboarding what Tony Hawk's did for skateboarding, in that it grabbed people with no previous interest in the sport and surrounding culture, and within days had them strutting down the high street in big reflective goggles and ski jackets. Cool. A year later, SSX Tricky arrived on PS2, and in 2003, SSX3, a pair of games widely regarded as some of the best sports titles ever made. Another PS2 launch title next, and it's Tekken Tag Tournament. Now, I remember the hype for this game. We were fresh off the back of Tekken 3, still to this day the greatest fighting game ever made in my not-so-humble opinion, and I fondly recall poring over every detail in a PSM2 magazine preview for Tekken Tag Tournament, marvelling at the insane graphics. You could see a cord on Jin's combat trousers actually tied up in a knot. You could see individual fronds of hair. You could see his nipples. Then it came out and it was quite frankly the most beautiful virtual representation of people punching each other that I'd ever seen. And you could have tag teams. I mean, for me, Tekken 3 is still the best, but good lord, this was one heck of a launch title. And Rosie is still adamant it is the best Tekken game ever, which, you know, I'd like to hear her try and argue in a court of law, but...
Your Honour, today I would like to present to the court why I think that Tekken Tag Tournament for the PlayStation 2 is my favourite one. Don't get me wrong, Tekken 3 is absolutely fantastic. I have got no quarries or anything with Tekken 3 at all. It's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant fighter. However, Tekken Tag Tournament has just got so many things in it that makes it my favourite. First of all, the fact that you've got two characters you need to consider rather than one. So whereas in games like Tekken 3 and 2 and Tekken 1, you can get really good with one character, and that's fantastic. However, in Tekken Tag Tournament, you have to consider at least two of the characters in the huge roster. That's the thing as well, Your Honour. So many characters. You have got characters from Tekken 1, 2, 3, all combined into this one universe. So if you, for example, are really good with June from Tekken 2, you can now replay as her in Tekken Tag.
Denied. Tekken Tag Tournament is indeed a fantastic game, but under Section 5 of the Irrefutable Video Game Opinions Amendment of 2004, it clearly states Tekken 3 is the best Tekken game.
Well, that's that settled then. Time for a PS3 launch title next, a console that arrived on these shores on the 23rd of March 2007, along with MotorStorm. Who remembers MotorStorm? Now, I'm going to commit to this and say I think MotorStorm is the single most visually impressive launch game I have ever seen. And by that, I mean the leap from the previous generation was so incredible that when I saw MotorStorm in action for the first time, I couldn't actually believe it was a thing I could control and not some pre-rendered CG movie. The jump to HD certainly helped. I got my very first high-definition TV along with a PS3, a 32-inch beast that seemed to swallow my entire bedroom, and hooking it up to my glossy new console with an HDMI cable. And then seeing MotorStorm, the light reflections, the mud splattering across livery, the roar of the trucks and cars and bikes, the speed and the sound and the sight of it, the jump from PS2 with its SCART cable connection on my tinny hand-me-down portable TV to this glorious thing booming from every high-definition pixel is something I will never forget. It helped that MotorStorm was properly brilliant as well, terrifyingly fast and chaotic, especially when playing against friends. It felt unreal, like we'd arrived in a secret dimension of interactivity that shouldn't be allowed. Welcome to PS3, MotorStorm said. Enjoy your stay. And it wasn't long before I was enraptured by our next launch title, Resistance: Fall of Man, a refreshingly understated first-person shooter set in the bleak and brown English countryside after an alternate history alien invasion. I mean, I say understated, you were running about firing guns at dribbling, screaming chimera, but certainly when you compared Resistance to the bombast of Call of Duty 3, or indeed its future sequels, there was a real groundedness in Fall of Man, an early flicker of intention at a more serious and mature future for not just shooters, but video games as a whole. You could call Resistance Fall of Man the anti-SSX. 7 years previously, everything was noise and colour and just so video games. Yet now here we were, the start of a new generation, a time when games were picking at the boundaries of what they were and what they could be. Resistance is maybe an apt title then. But yeah, having said all that, I did still have an absolute blast bursting alien faces wide open with an array of first-person weaponry, so yeah. Our final entry is a PS4 launch title, and as a technical showcase for the amazing new things this new console could handle, it didn't get much better than Resogun, a gorgeous laser disco of a shoot-'em-up from renowned developer Housemarque. And disco is right, Resogun was a riot of colour and music and particle effects, where mastery meant learning each stage almost like a choreographed dance, juggling humans that needed saving while scooting around enemy ships before bursting them into tiny fireworks of explosive code. Resogun was basically like, look how many bits of stuff PS4 can handle on the screen at any one time, and we were like, oh wow, that's pretty. And while Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, another launch title that could easily have made this list, was wowing me with its wave physics, Resogun just felt like liftoff for PS4. It was the first PS4 game I played, and I remember trying out Party Chat while playing it for the first time. I never got as good as Nathan at the game, who famously managed to nudge his way into the top 50 on the global leaderboard at one stage. I just liked all the pretty colours and the cool music, and there was an insane depth to Resogun for those who wanted to dive in further. A technical and visual marvel, and comfortably one of my favourite PlayStation launch games of all time. So there you have it, 7 PlayStation launch titles totally worth buying a new console for. Do you agree with our choices? Do you think we've missed out some that deserve a spot? Let us know in the comments, give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and be sure to click that notification bell so you're always up to date with everything from the world of PlayStation. Thanks for watching, we'll catch you again soon.